but only negative attention. Good morning, Marisa.
Good morning.
And Keith. How's it going?
Good
All right,
morning.
how are you guys? Do you sleep well?
I've slept better. I've certainly slept better. I remember winning the Premier League once or twice.
Yeah. I thought I had a nightmare, but it was actually just reality.
No, man,
What
don't
was
be in your
the
feelings.
Hey, I don't have to be
nightmare
happy
was
for
that
them.
a global pandemic
No.
almost derailed Liverpool.
I don't have to be
And it
happy
didn't.
for them, but I can give them credit because they deserve to win it. But I won't
No,
say
you
I'm
only
happy.
give credit on the night. You don't have to give credit anymore. You can now stop. It's done now. You said congrats. It's done.
We're done. We're done with Liverpool. We're done with football. They might as well just stop the rest of the season now.
Oh, shame. I don't think Keegan is going to appreciate that,
No, it's fine.
Yeah.
Because City's getting a ban, so 5th place.
You think and you hope.
They'll find a way to bribe themselves out of it.
Now they'll get 1 year at least. They'll get 1 year at least.
But can you just give Chelsea credit? We credit this due. I mean, a young team with a transfer ban, all of that, and they still managed to keep United out of top 4 and beat City.
Exactly.
Not yet, but at
And
the moment.
And beat City. We beat City.
I think we beat City this year as well.
So I know Reese got befuck with me as well, but how ridiculous was it? Like 10 minutes before the end of the game, it was just Liverpool all over the place, and I was like switching channels trying to find out where they're fucking playing, because apparently Chelsea didn't just beat City. It was just Liverpool. And then after the match, I go straight to John Barnes, and they got this whole video call set up and everything. I'm like, dude, at least give Chelsea like 10 minutes of time. And praise the young team that
was huge.
Yeah,
especially
they were at the time the champions, and the second best team in the league.
And when the games returned, they were actually quite on fire. I was very nervous for the game. I was thinking, well, hell, now I'm gonna never live this down, because as you know, I live with Man United, so it was, we're never gonna live this down.
We're actually just gonna blame you guys for giving them the title. We're actually just gonna blame you guys now.
It's okay.
It's another reason to have a gripe with you.
That's what we do. We either win it or we give it away. We gave it to Leicester a couple of years ago, so it's fine.
Yeah.
It's how to just like give and take. We're a charitable bunch, so
This is how they write a fun fact.
I just blame. I'll blame you guys, and I'll blame City for being involved. Just for something.
It was gonna happen. It was
No, of course it was gonna. It was done anyway. Yeah. It was done anyway.
Our best hope of getting Liverpool not to win this was going to be this COVID-19 pandemic, and they even managed to do it through that. So hats off to them. They do deserve it. The fans do not deserve it, but the team and Jurgen has. That's what I feel.
Do you know what? I'll say one thing. Those old, like, I've seen, really, there must have been some serious closet Liverpool fans for 30 years watching football on the sly. I'm telling you, I've never seen them tweet pre-game, during a game. I've never seen them talk football for years. Maar jare, die rooi jerseys is nou uit, jong.
Ach, you know how it goes. Remember when City started winning, it was the same fucking thing.
And it's hard for the older fans, because they can't say, I've been supporting since 1976 because I don't believe.
SABC One doesn't even have that footage anymore.
Yeah. That's insane. I thought about it last night, and it's literally their first title, top flight title, since I was born. That's insane. Yeah. Giving away my age, and I'm also not young. I'm quite old.
But you know, respect to a lot of the young fans, because I saw someone said that when 30 years ago they didn't care about football at all, and they had to wait so long for a title. Imagine being that hopeful for like 20 odd years. No, no, no.
If you, if you supported Liverpool from anything before last night, you're definitely not a Glory supporter.
No. Definitely. Probably
We'll
instilled.
that.
It would have been it would have been instilled in the family or somewhere.
Yeah.
At the time,
I also
it's like
think it's a very like a family thing. Daddy, grandfather, uncles.
I think a lot of fans that it's like very much instilled in the family, like quite deep rooted in the family. So it's like a grandfather, then a father.
Yeah.
So it's very like there's very few of them that actually there's actually few of them that have gone like against the grain. Like there's very few families that have Liverpool supporters in it, and then like the son will support or Chelsea or something different. Like,
but never united. Never united.
Funny enough, you say that. I actually saw on Twitter quite a lot where it's like my dad is a Liverpool fan and the Oak's like a staunch United fan. I'll be like, yeah, but that was just to make cuck when you were younger. You know what normally happens.
Now you're gonna be the
what I've also seen quite often is that the older generation, like the dad or whatever, will support Everton, and then the lighty goes to Liverpool just to cause cuck.
Just to piss on his parade. Poor dad.
We actually need to actually call our Everton friend Wallace. We know Everton. He must be in.
Nick,
he must be.
Somebody better check up on him.
He must be hating.
All alone, and he's all alone there in Durban.
Because at some point in time, he could have been like, hey, we just like Liverpool, we haven't won a title, but now he's screwed. Now he doesn't even have that.
Oh, shame, man.
But Reese, what's happened on your side?
Well, working from home. Hit the third month.
How's Covino going in the sporting world?
You know that sport is right at the bottom of the barrel in the world of the Rona. So
no, I believe that's cigarettes.
Oh wait. Cigarettes is right at the bottom in the world of the Rona.
Just above that.
But you know, I've seen a lot of innovation come through, which is really fantastic. I've seen quite a lot of innovation in the States. Okay, I don't really want to look at them too much because, epicenter of the world. But I've seen quite a lot of, even last night watching the Chelsea City game. You don't have fans, which kind of sucked that every time I had to see the Liverpool fans celebrate the Chelsea goals. It was a bit crappy, but you see a lot of that kind of innovation coming through where people are now focused on what's on the TV and on the screen and still trying to make it entertaining for people. Fans can't go into a stadium. I miss it. I absolutely miss going into a stadium and listening to the roaring fans and drunk students, and I miss that. But we have to we can't be stuck in the missing. We need to see what we can do going forward. So that is where we've now reached that point. We've now crossed that bridge, and we are now on the other side, trying to see how green the grass is on the side for the time being.
So tell me, Reese, before we go forward, what have you guys missed out on now in terms of varsity sports? Like which games and sports were played, and where are we sitting now?
So we obviously Varsity Cup games were all. So we've suspended the tournament because of where it was at. We could still play it, but it all depends on other factors. So we've got until September, October to play it and to finish it. And we've already put in measures in case it cannot happen, because we obviously have to take into account what government says, what COVID says, what the university says. So there are so many factors. we've now missed out on athletics. We've missed out on hockey. We've missed out. We are going to probably miss out on basketball. And so coming up is still football and netball and sevens. That's in the latter part of the year. So yeah, we're taking it as it comes. So we're still planning ahead. With the PSL looking like it is returning, we could possibly have our players return. But again, it's professional versus amateur. So there's a whole lot of other things in play. So yeah, we basically sitting ducks and waiting on government and how far, like what they are allowing us to do and what they're not allowing us to do.
Just a question, Rishi, do you guys or your sporting code guidance straight from like a SAFA, or does it come down to a district thing? The reason why I ask is like I know football is obviously gets filtered down from SAFA, but like at the end of the day, a district actually has the full sort of say in what happens in an area. Obviously, well, you might know, but Wally knows I'm at Bible Football Club, and we basically, the Tygerberg CTA have set out basically saying there is no leagues, it's done. At some point in time, there could be a few friendlies before football season is really complete. We could get to that stage, but it's unlikely at this point in time. Do you that you fall under those restrictions, or do you find varsity sport is able to fall under that professional code in a way? Like, I know SA Rugby has put in a plan to get rugby back by September, if I'm not mistaken, or some sort of Currie Cup by September. Do you see like the rugby side of things falling maybe into that setup at this point in time?
So we are sanctioned by the national federations.
Okay.
And what it looks like is because the tournament is national. It's not just played in one place, except for sevens, which is played in one place over 2 days. Everything is national because it runs in the different provinces where the different universities are. So we take our directive from the national federation, and from there they will say, okay, fine. Because maybe, for example, Limpopo, there's no cases in Limpopo. We're going to do this, and we're going to do that, whatever. So that is how they can push you into little certain areas. But again, then it comes down to budget. It comes down to, can we afford? Can we do this? What does it mean for the brand? And we have to keep our sponsors top of mind, our brand top of mind. So it's either we completely suspend for the year and look forward, or we say, okay, let's do a little bit of a test here at Royal Bafokeng, or let's try something different, like a virtual FIFA game or whatever. So it's all those little things that we need to take into consideration. And but yeah, we get our directive straight from the national union. But again, it's professional versus amateur.
And also the fact that
you guys are.
Sorry, Wally. The fact that like COVID obviously is running quite rife in like schools, and I'm pretty sure like universities aren't really that open yet. So I guess it becomes a big sort of risk for you guys, because you don't know what the situation is at those players' universities. You also don't know what under what guidance those players will be under once they if they do get into training and stuff. So I take it also quite a big weight on your shoulders as well, hoping that everyone is treating their squads the same way, and no one's really, one university is really looking after and keeping their players isolated and stuff like that, and another university is allowing players to do exactly what they please,
whatever they want. And I mean, we have to take a directive from universities as well. If the universities say, listen, we're not going to open for the rest of the year, they're not going to open for the rest of the year. So again, it's the education department. So you've got all these little departments that it's almost like your stars need to align. But I think for us, it was
it's like almost there's too many role players.
So there's not like one person, which is absolutely fine. I mean, you can't have one person saying one thing, and then that's the law. That's what we do, because then you're going to see cigarettes banned until September.
I was just gonna say you can if your name's Lamini Zuma.
So, but I think for us, and it's always been the case, pre-COVID, any other time, for us, the most important role players were our players and our staff, and their safety is key. I'm worried more about, and this is not some place where I can even make a decision, but it's something that came to mind last night. So what happens to the sports bursaries? Because we've got, and I mean, it's all good and well to say, man, it's okay. Let us suspend varsity sports because we can always pick it up next year and stuff. And the thing that we are sitting with, our team is sitting with, and the thoughts that we are grappling with is to say, you know what? It was Keegan's last year to play varsity sports, maybe varsity football. It was his last year. That was his last shot to make it into a PSL team. So immediately that dream is done. So now he's got to find other avenues.
That's exactly what I was going to ask next, is what impact you think this has on people who's got further aspirations of going pro and whatever, and now possibly sitting with a handful of people that maybe won't make it.
So if you hear a loud noise on my side, the heavens decided to open up.
Oh, lekker. Let me come and close my window.
It's super loud.
And Are we living in the same province?
This is the Western Cape.
Well, I'm only a couple of kilometers away from Keegan, and it's quite clear. Yeah, I can see a little rainbow.
It's like same here. But yeah, so those are the type of decisions that needs to be made. So come September, October, it's going to be like, okay, varsity sports, are we going to change our rule for the year because there's an exception? Also, it's not like COVID is going to go like New Year's Eve. Hey, thanks for the year. I'm going to be out. So there's a lot of things at stake. There's a lot of things that we need to consider. But unfortunately, given the global pandemic and what it is, there will be collateral damage, which is absolutely heartbreaking and sad. It's one of those things we get caught in a crossfire, and that it is what it is. It's the same with anybody who have lost a job, who have lost whatever. It's that you are caught in the middle of something and there's nothing you can do about it. But you can change something else. You can maybe think of another way. And it's the time that we have to be a bit more creative and innovative with in our thoughts. I mean, it took me 3 months to actually reach a point of, okay, fine, let's move forward. Let's get to another side, because I've been in my feelings for 3 months. And so it's the same thing with the sports players. It's like, what do we do? So now we know Keegan can play really good football, but Keegan doesn't have the platform to show his skills. So what are we going to do? Oh, wait, let's make a little video of Keegan doing drills, doing stuff, showing him studying. So we do a little video series, and Keegan can take that to a Sundowns or an Ajax or whatever and say, listen here, I am actually quite serious about playing. I'm going to be knocking on doors. I'm not going to rely on someone seeing me on TV. So there are other ways that Keegan could get into a professional setup, but again, it will then be up to Keegan to do that. Sorry, Keegan.
I'm glad you mentioned that. I'm glad you mentioned that.
Are you guys in touch with the players around stuff like that, or?
So that will fall in. That's university, because we get access as soon as the competition launches. So because no competition has launched as yet, we don't know who the players would be. Obviously, there were no squad lists sent through, anything. So we have no say over those players. But we can advise a university and say, listen, university people, maybe this is what you should look at for your players. Because at the end of the day, I don't think there is one university in South Africa that does not want to see their players excel. If they see
obviously on a personal level, that's obviously something nice for a university and for coaches and whatever, but also to put on their sort of CV as a university to say, listen, we've got 100 Springboks or whatever. Yeah.
But then you look at, not all the universities have the capital and the infrastructure to do something like that. So you see there's a very big divide as well. But it's little things like that I think can really elevate the status of a university, as well as the status of its players. Like you have to pay you have to spend money to make money almost.
Do you know if there's any sort of push or like training of sorts or something for varsity players in terms of social media, like handling their social media, making sure you've got accounts to try and build up, a bit of your own following while they're playing? Are universities doing that type of stuff?
No, I haven't seen universities do any kind of social. So we do social media, like just a type of thing with players before a tournament to say, listen here, while you're in tournament, it's almost like a rule guide to say, like, I don't want you to be streaking down naked and then tagging us in it, or you wearing your jersey while you very drunk in the streets of Stellenbosch, those kind of things. But for me, on a personal level, brand management, especially on social media, is quite big, because it's how you interact with people. Am I only posting content of my abs? Okay, cool, I've got 1 million followers because of my abs, but it's all thirsty women from Russia kind of thing. So it's like it's that kind of thing that you have to. What is the brand that I want to put out in the market? There's a guy from Stellenbosch. I call him Seprentis because his name is Sebastian Prentice. He owns a marketing company, like a marketing events company. And he's got such a phenomenal story about how it starts. And for him, he's like, yeah, I play rugby because he's quite good. He's like, I play rugby, but I'm an entrepreneur first. Like, and that is the brand that he is starting to put out the market. So when you go onto his social media, you see that he does a lot of fitness stuff, etc. But nothing is just solely rugby, because he is more than just rugby. So he's got he's got nice abs though.
Now we know why Reese followed.
I followed him for the abs.
Reese, I'm glad that you touched on the aspect of like players, especially players that are in their final years missing out. Obviously, like I'm in a certain different situation. I work with school kids, so we're dealing with matrics who would have been their last final year of playing sport for the school. It's an end, it's an end of a part of their lives and stuff, and a lot of missing out on it now. And some players would have just broken into the first team this year. Late bloomers, some people. So you now and then get a situation where a player is now might never get that first team cap, and it's all he's worked for 5 years or so. So I think like on a varsity side of things is obviously you are hoping, on the school side of things, you are hoping that final year was great because it helps you almost get that sports bursary into a varsity, and then that varsity next step into a professional outfit. And it's I think it's quite a knock-on effect if you look all the way down the line. Just another thing I was thinking about the other day is, what do you feel? Do you feel that this would create quite a bit of do you think this is going to create quite a pool of players that are sort of going to be lost, do you think, in a system in all sort of sports? Do you think like this backlog over here, or do you think if rules change for varsity sports, you can get everything back? You could sort of get them back on track in a way. Because I know it's the age limit rule, but it's also the fact that some players might be in their final year at the varsities. Is that right?
So because the age limit rule can be changed. It's something that you can change for the year if everybody agrees. Like one of us, you're like, okay, fine, but now you get guys that was in their last year, this year, the final PG year. It's like after some of them actually graduated now, middle year.
Oh wow!
And they're done. Okay. So because obviously they've got that extra semester that they do
So technically,
post-grad.
they're not part of that varsity anymore, if you think
Yeah,
about it.
yeah, because it's the post-grad. So you a post-grad and your post-grad finishes in June. So, so they're graduating now. So they're done. I mean, I am, sorry, I'm very I'm very fearful of the fact that we are going to lose a lot of players across all sports. One particular thing that comes to mind is Craven Week. I know people are very about, oh yeah, Craven Week is this, Craven Week is that, and people have got lots of negative things to say. It is one of the most important competitions in this country. It is
About
because
500, 600 players of one age
yeah,
group.
and it's I mean, Damien Willemse comes through Craven Week. I read this morning, Bucky's daughter comes through.
There's so many pro players that you just hear, and then it's like made his name at Craven Week, made his name at
Exactly.
Craven Week. That's where he was
And
discovered. This and that. Such a huge thing.
And Craven Week is not just the under 18, it's under 13, under 16. They've got the academy. So there are 4 different competitions that spans over the June holidays. And it is such an important place because you got everybody from rugby. I still can't understand that nobody wants to sponsor it. It's like, to me, it's like, it blows my mind. If I had the money, I would definitely invest, because the developing of our young players is so, so important. You will see that you'll get a little 10-year-old, and you're like, yo, this homie's got, actually, there's something about this child, this 10-year-old. And this 10-year-old becomes like a very good netball player at school. She's getting everything, and there's things set up. And that 10-year-old can become a 20-year-old in the 2023 Netball World Cup in Cape Town. And through that 10 years, you've got coaches that are nurturing, you've got the teachers, you've got parent support. So you've got all that support for to nurture your talent and to get you to that discipline state. Any movie that you watch, it's never the national team coach. It is always the varsity coach. It's the school coach. Those are the people that were important and that laid the foundation so that when you reach your professional setup, you actually have that foundation already. And this is what hurts me the most, is that COVID has taken that away. So we don't have any of that development weeks happening where we can showcase the children and their talents.
Yeah, it's a good
That's a very good point. What I also always thought is, and I feel I'm not super clued up with the local football structures on a school level and that, but as far as I'm aware, we don't have many of these interprovincial tournaments and stuff going on in football. And I've always thought that hurts football at a national level so much, because these kids don't know going to a World Cup or to a African Cup of Nations or whatever. It almost feels like they don't know the pressures of playing in a tournament like that. And obviously the pressures of playing every second, third or fourth day. And tournaments like you mentioned now, the Craven Week is so important, like you said, also obviously for coaching and whatever, but I feel it's also so important to teach kids what it feels like to play in high pressure environments. There's a bit more of a crowd than you'd probably see at the Saturday school games. It's a higher level crowd because now you've got, pro coaches and whatever looking at you. And I think that makes a big difference, I feel, in how they end up competing.
Because that's exactly what it's like with Varsity Sports as well. Sorry, no, I said that's exactly what you're saying, Ryan, with Varsity Sports. In Varsity Sports, you get the whole selection, you get the whole welcome to the team. Then you get the whole traveling. You must pack your bag.
Dealing with media and all of that as well.
Exactly. You're rooming with someone. So it is all so either it is the best years of your life, your student years, your best years of your life because you traveled the country and you played your sports that you love or whatever, or it is setting you up for the best years of your life. So, but by the time a varsity sports, varsity cup player makes it to a big league, they know about traveling. I mean, we had kids the more poorest communities that flew to Cape Town when I don't know if you remember a couple of years ago when they had the protests on campus and we had to go off campus and we played at Cape Town Stadium, and we had kids from up north coming to Cape Town for the first time in their lives. They saw the sea. It's like all they wanted to see was the touch the ocean, and it is so like OMG, like there's people that absolutely like they've never seen the beach before, and now this is, and they were like so grateful for the opportunity, and you don't, and someone would not necessarily get that opportunity, so now you get that, and it sets you up, so you when you reach the bigger leagues, it's not like you're niks gewoond, because then you know.
Yeah.
It's amazing if you really break down a Varsity Cup experience. And when I say an experience, obviously just not just from a play, a whole structure, like from traveling to match prep, because you prep for the week, for the following week's game, and that whole setup. It's very difficult. Like it's very difficult to sort of replicate that any other way. Like you almost get the perfect professional feeling. Well, the closest thing you'll ever get if you're not a professional sportsman, that you just say you're just a talented sportsman and you were able to get into your varsity side. For some people, that is the closest they'll ever get to be a professional.
Exactly.
And something like that, those little like lessons and those little things are actually so great in further in life, because you might be lucky, you might be a late bloomer, so you might be discovered later, you might never have been looked at before, but just because you had a bit of talent in your varsity, you've been able to move forward. And all those things. You hear these stories, like you take the Skulk Burger story. I mean, he was a cricket player. I mean, had a provincial contract, all those things, and was on his way to become a pro cricketer, and next minute he plays a Corsairs game, and next minute he's ship and playing rugby.
Exactly.
And it's, crazy little things like that. You can hear so many of those varsity stories come around that, hey, I was just playing, I was good enough to make my varsity side. Next minute I'm playing rugby for the Pumas, or, I've got a pro rugby contract somewhere else.
Apiwe Dianti also played Corsairs.
There we go.
He also just like, oh, okay. They're like, okay, do you want to play rugby? Oh, yeah, fine, cool. Play rugby. And then he ends up becoming a Springbok. I mean, I'm not going to talk about any of the negativity around his name or whatever, but just the mere fact that it was a Corsairs game, and that's enough. There are so many little competitions that we look at, and they're like, oh, what's the point of this? What's the point of that? But if I have to take the Varsity Cup structure, so Varsity Cup has got the main Varsity Cup, it's got the Varsity Shield. So those are the two big ones. So those are the two teams that you want to get into. But now maybe I don't make it into that team. I'm the first year, because there's obviously the rule about how many first years you're allowed in your senior team. So what do I play? Under 20 young guns. So now the senior coach can see my talent and my passion and whatever. So there's a second opportunity. Okay, fine. Now young guns, I didn't make it into the big team, but I'm living on whatever Kosa's name is. But now I'm going to play courses for this in the Res Rugby League with us. So I still get everything. I get my kit, I get to travel, I get all of this, and I get to play.
And that's under Varsity Sports' banner as well, the courses.
Yeah, and Varsity Cup, yeah. It all falls under everything. So now there's another opportunity.
Do the courses only play against each other in, for example, Stellenbosch, or do they travel to other universities as well?
So how it works is the courses, they've got a league that happens in their own university, right? So now you've got your 9 Varsity Cup teams. So your Varsity Cup teams basically decide whether you're playing or not. So now you have your 9 teams that that make Varsity Cup, and the top courses of each university, the one that won the league for the university, they go play at
So
you get to travel and you get to do all of that.
So the internal leagues, that has nothing to do with varsity sports.
No.
They play that, and then they join you guys once they've gotten a winner, basically.
So the league technically starts after. So, like say in May, the league starts for the following year. So you get your league, and then so now you know that these are the 9 universities that are playing Varsity Cup. So each winner of that. So now you want to win, and this is why I always laugh because I think it's Versailles and Patria. Those are the two that always make the final. Versailles, I think it's from Free State, and Patria from Potchefstroom NW, and they're always in the final. And it's like every year Versailles would win, and I think Patria won the last one. So it's like so they all have their own little internal competitions as well, their own little rivalries.
But if you can't think of it that we were speaking about earlier with sort of learning how to deal with the pressure and stuff, that's even more pressure on the first teams because they've got these amateur guys that that obviously don't necessarily take it so seriously, but they'll be putting pressure on the first team to say, listen, guys, if you guys don't stay in the Varsity Cup, then we are out.
We don't qualify anymore.
It's like added levels, and I'm sure, when you go down to Tollies, I don't even know if Tollies is still a thing, but there'll be a bit of banter around that, saying, listen, guys, you better get this win on Monday because we need to stay.
And the Corsair's team is like the Hamilton's third team. They're like, like we are for the party and for the lekker day. We're seen on the field, no doubt.
They're there for the fines meeting.
Yeah,
there's for the fines meeting.
Sounds like our entire hockey club.
Yeah, it does sound like an entire hockey club, just playing for the band.
So, what do you think? Your honest predictions of when we'll see Varsity Sports back in any type of form? Obviously, assuming with a closed crowd and all of that.
So, for me, I really hope because we've got cricket that's now classified as a non-contact sport that was supposed to take place in September. Hopefully, we will see the non-professional sports come back under level 2, just so that they can really start training and stuff. But I want to see them come back because it's non-contact sport, and when the universities return, at least we can say like our cricket is also returning. The contact sport, however, I think that would be a longer wait for contact sport. But if you do play, I don't think we're going to see fans in a stadium until we have a vaccine or until we have 0 cases in the country. So, yeah, but I wish we were New Zealand. But I do think, as I mentioned earlier, that there are different types of innovation that you can apply for when sports do return to the stadiums, even if it's behind closed doors. We've done it before. And it's so sad because I remember, like for us, we obviously we look at viewership, we look at attendance, and we know people are going to come out in their numbers. We know it because students don't have much to do on a Monday night. So what do? We pre-game at the stadium, and then we go into the town for the rest of the night or whatever. The same with all the other sports. It's like they know Thursday night is football night. So they know that's how they're going to start their weekend, with a liquor game of footy, and then we go further party or study or whatever. So we know that we've got the crowd, and the crowd will come when gates open. I think the challenge for us is to see, okay, fine, there's no crowd. We don't have the technology of having fake sounds in the stadium like they have with the Premier League. So what are we gonna do? So that is the surprise. Like, what we're gonna do for you sitting at home, and why would you tune in a varsity game as opposed to another game? So those are the little things that we need to think of before we get the go ahead to say, okay, fine, guys, sports can return, but behind closed doors.
And what impact?
Question. Oh, sorry, go away.
What impact do you think? I'm just thinking now of, in terms of the football, like when I watched Arsenal's first game and they had those 2 injuries, I thought this is probably going to become a recurring issue now because obviously players aren't that well conditioned and everything. But I can imagine for rugby it must be way worse on the players to take 3, 4, 5 months off completely, and then trying to go out and play proper contact rugby again.
Yeah.
Think
Yeah,
it
because
just feels
that's my other concern also, is because, when sorry,
there we go. We
you were
broke
breaking
up there
up
a little
there.
bit.
Sorry, you were saying, Risi?
Yeah, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can hear you.
Every Zoom call. Can you hear me? So so I said that's my concern, because you're sitting with all these players. I mean, it's easy for an athlete like a 100-meter sprinter, because they can go to the track, because the track is open and they can do their little weight train. But from a contact, like especially a rugby, that is hard, because in order to scrum, you need to scrum. You can't just like, oh, I did 10 bench presses, so I can scrum. Not that. It's that
That's not
technical
the
training
same.
that you need to do. So I know the professional players have returned, but I don't think the amateur players have returned to training.
I think the fact that also,
So there's going to be a whole lot of conditioning that needs to take place.
if I'm not mistaken, I think professional players can return to training, but I don't even think they're taking physical training. I don't think there's physical training yet. So even like, if might be mistaken here, but I don't even think like scrumming and stuff like that is actually happening. It's basically social distance training still at this point.
Yeah.
Rugby's obviously massive. You've got
You have to
to
scrum with the scrum.
condition your body to take contact, and it takes a bit of, especially if your guys come back from a long layoff, like that first bit of contact takes a bit of time to get used to. And football's probably the exact same, like just going into a tackle, your timing, your legs, like taking a few kicks. You don't just like get kicked and walk it off immediately. Like after a while, a few weeks of having, and then I think hockey's got its own little niggles and things like that. I think this is where I think this is the big part: is do we rush to get these sports back onto the field as soon as possible and risk further sort of injury or things like that to these players, or do we actually slow it down and be like, right, we can go back, but we're probably not in the right state, because the risk is possibly bigger than the reward at the end of the day. And I think that's also, I guess, that's a very difficult decision for you guys at Varsity Sport, but also any other professional union right now, or sporting code at this point in time. Risi, I wanted to ask you something.
Yeah,
sorry, I think I'm lagging on my side a little bit here. But just think about, you can answer that one, and then I just want to ask you about rule changes at Varsity Cup when it comes to sport. So you can hop onto that one that I just spoke about.
What do you want to know? There's no rule changes happening.
So there's, ask you, who makes the rule changes?
There's no rule changing happening.
Rule change now is complete social distancing, no more tackles, nothing.
Oh,
the rugby side of things.
So who makes the rule changes?
Yeah. Who works on the rule changes?
So it is usually a collective decision that comes from. So it's you've got the board, you've got World Rugby representative, you've got all these players in so it's quite a few of them, and then you also get some suggestions from fans. So the fans would say, and if it makes sense, then it's like, okay, we will consider it, and then they take 3 to the board, and then the board decides, okay, all 3 are crap, or yes, this is actually quite cool. This will get people's attention.
Yeah, I can imagine that there must be a dog.
I did not hear you.
Sorry, I think we're on a bit of a lag here, but I was saying I'm sure it must be pretty interesting to see all the fan suggestions in terms of rules.
Reese is still with us.
I don't know.
Wait, I can't hear you guys. You guys are breaking up. Is my internet bad?
I think you have a bit of a lag spike there. We'll give it a second or two.
Oh, so Wallace is frozen on my side,
Is Wallace frozen?
and you were like a robot.
Just quit and come back in and see. Just quit Reese and just pop back into the.
Yeah, Reese,
yes.
I'm gonna
Can you
remove you quickly, eh? Aye, technology letting us down. The only thing we thought we could trust during these difficult times, and you still can't.
Not in Africa. Not in Africa.
Hmm.
In internet.
I'm just gonna pop a message on Facebook quickly to just make sure.
But yeah, I think what I want to see. I just wanted to see who the deal breakers are when it comes to rules in varsity sport, because I know that's quite a controversial thing, especially on the rugby side.
Yeah. There we go.
There we go. You're back.
I hope it's better now.
No, you're perfect.
It looks better. You were quite laggy earlier. Oh.
Okay. You guys can hear me.
We can hear you.
So just touching off where we were.
Hello. I know it's not my internet. Oh, can't hear you.
Can you hear us at all, Reese?
You're breaking up, eh? It sounds very like So
is it both
I don't
of
know
us?
why.
Is it both of us or just Ryan?
I wonder if it is on my side, because this is the northern suburbs.
We're all in the north, man.
We're all in the north. It should be a quick connection.
Let's not blame the north now.
I think just pop a
I wonder
message.
now if I shouldn't reboot my modem.
You want to do that?
Have a reboot. a reboot.
Okay. Reboot.
Okay, I'm gonna remove you, and then you
No, it is
let
my
me
side.
know. I'll see when you pop.
There we go. Just hang on.
Bye. Yeah, it's just I thought the rule check. I think rules are something that's always a little controversial when it comes to varsity sports, especially the last few days. If there's been any negativity towards Varsity Cup, I think on the rugby side, it's not really been the competitive nature and all of that. It's more like the rules, and some people, I think the rules have become a little bit of a joke, and it's become difficult to follow in a way.
Yeah, I must say I kind of agree with that, because obviously you know that I don't watch every game, but when I do go, it's weird. Like I remember the first time I think I went with you, it was a little bit confusing for me, the different points you get for a try from depending on where you run it from and whatever. And I think it kind of feels a little bit like some of the rules have become almost like or the rules have become almost more of a marketing strategy than anything else. It's just to try and see like maybe what absurd rules we can bring in to try and sell the game.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's listen, I do think some of the rules have allowed a bit more attacking things. One rule that I don't hate is for, I think it's 2 or 3 minutes, you can nominate 2 players from the opposition to leave the field. Like I'm not mad at a rule like that, but I don't have that you can score from points from different zone. It's a little confusing, especially for the guy watching from home.
This is much better. Oh,
there we go.
Reese in 8.
I think it's what you call it, northern suburb internet.
Die weer.
A severe, yeah.
Just blame the weather, as everyone else does.
No, I had to reboot my modem.
There we go.
Rebooting fixes everything.
That always works.
Or switch it on and off again.
Yes.
Put it on and off again.
That's exactly what I did. Anyway.
So we were chatting about the rules, and obviously the Varsity Cup has all sorts of different rules. It's always changing and whatever. And then Keegan just wanted to know how does that sort of chain of command work, and who gets to decide that.
So we get in some fan requests on social media. People would say like, oh, I think that one would work. Then we'll have another person. So there's various. So World Rugby would say, you know what, we have got this rule that we want to test out. And they use Varsity Cup as an experimenting ground. Because I don't know, actually, I actually don't know why, but yeah, so they'll experiment it there, and they'll take the rules to the board, and the board will say, okay, great rule, not so great, and chuck out whatever's not so lekker, that doesn't make sense. And the whole thing is because we like to be a bit innovative and we want to add a little bit of entertainment while you're watching your rugby. To us, things must never be boring. If you wanted boring, or if you wanted the same, or if you wanted, you'd watch another rugby tournament, right? You'll watch Currie Cup, and you'll watch.
If you really wanted boring, you'd watch the Blue Bulls, basically.
Yeah, exactly. Pala too. But if you want excitement and I mean, I'm going to hurt and a lot of rugby purists. But if you want something, just to see, because the thing is, we cannot be so afraid of change that we want to keep something the same forever. We want to try out something. So yeah, let's give something that makes no sense in our heads a try, and then see how it works out. If it works out, great. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And that is the thing about innovation, is that innovation, you test and you try. It's very trial and error. And then if something works, and we can say, guess what? It started here in South Africa, and we get to claim. And we know with South Africans, we like to claim everything, and it's stuff that we can actually claim because we tested it out in South Africa.
Definitely. I just thought, I was telling Ryan while you were quickly rebooting, was I think if there's one thing that that Varsity, if it's not a negative, it's just the one thing that I think Varsity Cup has had a lot of flack on the rugby side, is probably some of the rule changes, because you'll just find it, some people who probably don't, someone like Ryan, who doesn't follow rugby too closely, every time he comes to a game, he feels that he doesn't know what's going on, because he's just gotten used to the one set of rules, and then there's something else changing. I think if there's anything on Varsity Cup side, that's probably now I'm only talking rugby, because the sports probably don't get as much airtime. Think about it. I think that's probably the one thing that's been on people's minds, is like, you'll get the people that love it, and you're going to get the people that hate it, what you say. And I think that if there's one blip you would say on the rugby side, is maybe just some of the rules. Like I told Ryan, I'm not mad at the 2-player rule, nominating 2 players to go off. Like that for me is something new, and I'm happy to let that play out a season. The point scoring has become a bit of a pain to follow, like, and especially on the TV side of things.
Yeah,
because you don't even see the ref holding the little board up at times.
True. When you just see,
when you're at the stadium, you see the guy holding the board up from where the ball started. So I think like those little things, obviously it's, you guys are going to be keep changing things the whole time. Those rules might disappear after a year or two. You might bring something else in, but it's, I just think it's a question that a lot of people I've just seen on social media. It's like, where do these rules come from?
Tell me, these rules, I understand obviously that you're testing it out and all of that. Has there been any rules that actually made it through into professional rugby, like on an international level?
The white card rule. They played it in Australia also. And then Australian rugby was like, oh, look, we've got the new white card rule. No, you can give credit to us because this is where it started. FYI, come act like you are new to the. No. So, yeah, so the white card rule, I absolutely love the white card rule. What it was a bit touch and go, obviously, because people white card for any reason. But now that you only have one
Sorry,
each
just give me a
half.
bit of background on what the white card rule is. Sorry, I'm not.
Okay,
I'm not
okay.
doing
So this is only for semifinals and finals. So so what happens is each captain and coach, captain/coach, you've got one in the first half and one in the second half where you can contest what the
decision.
decision, and you can say, yo, you didn't call TMO, you didn't, and I feel like that was not right. That was a knock on, for example. Knock on is quite famous. That was a knock on. If they all whoever sits at the computer screens and stuff, TV screens, and they're like, actually, that actually was a knock on, no try, you win your white card. But if it wasn't a knock on and it's like, sorry, now you're locked out on your white card for the rest of the half, and something else can maybe happen and you can't contest it. So it has its pros and cons because. Say again?
You're breaking up.
That's like a referral system, essentially.
Yeah,
because it has its pros and cons because Keegan's team might have bought a ref. Not that it happened. You don't do that, yeah.
Hey, don't bring my football team into this now.
It was what is that? Howard win.
I thought Howard was retired.
You left with
but hockey's had that system. But hockey's had that referral system for quite a few years, especially at international hockey. And if you refer something or go upstairs against the umpire's call and get it wrong, you lose a referral. And if you keep your referrals, you keep keep it through the game. So it's I believe it's something all sports should have. I think it really should be something that I'm not saying should have many of them, but having at least one or two in the professional era today with the amount of on the line, and it's not just team money, but it's sponsorships, it's all these things. The call for a right decision is you really need the right decisions to be made on the park. And I understand people say yes, but there are the human element. You don't want to get rid of the human element. I do understand that. But I think sport has gone in such a way now where there's too much money in it to have those acts in a way. Human element, you got to start capping money in sports.
Because this is why white card is at the knockout, the semi-final and final, because those are the two knockout rounds. Because
that's when it really matters.
Anything can happen where you lose and you shouldn't have lost that game. For example, a decision that led to a try or goal, whatever. And so it's like one of those. So you bring it in so that it's completely transparent. So if you call it, and you can say, great, awesome, we've done what we needed to do. You cannot blame the ref anymore. You can only blame whatever happened on that field. The other team was just a better team. So there's no bad calls, and everybody is accountable. So this is what I love the most about this rule. It's really one of my absolute favorite rules. And then the other one is the strategy break that I also like. It's not really a rule, but so to those who are unfamiliar with the strategy break, so with Varsity Cup, we've got you play, each half is obviously 40 minutes. So between 18 and 20 minutes, you break for 2 minutes and you do a strategy break. So this is a nice time just to regroup, where instead of at the end of the half. So you get to regroup within 20 minutes, where coach comes down and coach can say, listen here, you guys are doing well. I need you to attack a little bit more here, because they don't have their coaches standing next to the field and screaming in a suit. They don't have that. So there's no communication. So that gives a nice time just to regroup. get your energy back, drink a little bit of water, whatever you need, and then get going again. And like I ran a lot, as you know. So for me, a walk break is always, especially on a long distance, the walk break is always my savior. So whenever I see a water table, I absolutely love it. It's like water table, yay, 10-second walk. And that is what the strategy break gives the rugby players, especially the youngsters. Only thing is, once you get to the bigger leagues, you don't have that break in the middle of your game. So that's the only other thing.
You got to bite fast then.
Yeah.
Yeah. Rishi talks, I just want to find out, is there at any point in time I know hockey works every alternate year, so it's like is one year, men the next year. Obviously netball will be different, it's every year, cricket is every year. So football is football also, men's and girls every year, men's and ladies every year.
Every year. So at the moment, we've got the men, obviously, that starts in July and they all finish in September, and then the women do September. They do a few days in September. So they actually play 2 games a day, and they do it's a very quick knockout round. Obviously, what we would love to see, and again, it's not a decision that one person can make. There's a lot at stake. There's sponsorship, there's season and everything. What we would love to see is the women play this as frequently as the men, so every week. So that is definitely one of the visions and dreams for Varsity Sports, is that women and men can play consecutively, not consecutive, but same weekend. Because we want to obviously grow football in the country, and again, it comes down to development. We don't have a lot of development, but it's starting now. A lot of great brands involved that is getting women's football nicely on the map, because Banyana has been doing very well with the little support in terms of development that they've had. And if you look at the Banyana team, a lot of these girls either played for the university or they went abroad to play. So I know, I think it's a TUT or TUX, one of the universities in Pretoria that have a very good program involved. They've got this good program for the girls, and Janine also has an academy in Houston. So it's like she's got an academy in America. It's funded, everything. They love it. We don't even have that here, and she's the captain of our team because we just don't care about women's football. It's the same with the PSL. I would love to see each PSL team have a women's team in the competition. You have an Orlando Pirates woman, you have a Sundowns woman, just like the Premier League. I don't know if you guys follow the women's Premier League. It is absolutely amazing. These girls are beasts. It's so great to watch. And this is why when we go,
very good team.
They are the best team, even better than Arsenal. Way better than United.
We only started a year ago.
We've been doing it. You know, women have always been at the forefront.
We did get promoted first season though, so that does help. First season.
But
we got a title, guys. We got a title.
Some silverware. So I would love to see that happen in the women's sports space, where brands come on board, and I don't want women's sport to be seen as a charity. We must because we have to kind of thing. It's not a charity, it's an investment. And I would love to see brands invest in women's sport.
I think, take it from a hockey aspect, I would like to see the men's and the ladies' sides playing the same weekend. So if it instead of playing every alternate year, I think it would be way better for the sport and just for the brand itself. It makes an evening of going to go watch hockey so better if you could see, say, Stellenbosch ladies and men's side play the same night. If they're playing Tuks, it would be the men's game, the ladies' game straight off to each other. Obviously it creates a fantastic vibe and everything like that, but also I think the the whole package becomes so much better at the end of the day. And then all of a sudden, everyone's on the same pedestal. So it's, 1 week, guys games first, ladies games second, and then the next week could be ladies games first and guys games second. And that mixture, and the two you can keep universities playing against each other. So it could be the same league, or the same UCT Marties, guys and girls, the same night after each other. And also, like you say with Bafana, if you look at our ladies hockey side, with the amount of money they get, they've probably been the better out of the hockey teams in South Africa as well. And with very little backing, more backing than the men, but very little backing to compete on a good front. So I totally agree with you. I think there's certain sports where the female sort of section of the sports needs to get a hell of a lot more backing. And with the minimal amount of resources, the amount of work they've been able to do, and also what they've been able to achieve, it's actually quite criminal that they haven't been able to have a little bit of more of investment that goes into it. And I think for us to move forward, unfortunately, there's a lot of stigmas that need to change, and it's stigmas we're not fighting. It's not a new fight, it's an old fight. But these stigmas need to start changing sooner rather than later, because this time it just feels that every year we seem to bring up the same nonsense and fight the same thing, but nothing ever changes, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
We know that women's football needs more help financially and groundwork, but we've been saying this for 5 years, 6 years now?
Yeah.
And it's changing too slowly. So something needs to give at some point.
The problem I feel is, obviously from a brand's perspective, it's going to be difficult. I know Sassol's on board now big time with Banyana, and I know Spar's also been involved with the SA Lady hockey team, but it's almost like from a brand's perspective, you're going to lose money for a couple of years to end up making money once things pick up. And that's a difficult sell for obvious reasons to a business. But that's, in my opinion, where government needs to step up, and SASCOC needs to come to the party and say, listen, we'll provide you with, come to us, let's work together. We put together a proper business plan, and we'll provide the upfront backing for the first 5 years. First 5 years or whatever. Grow your fan base and your sports base to X amount, and then as part of that process, you approach a brand and say, listen, as soon as we get to this point, you guys step in and take over. But I just feel like there's none of that going on. It's just like, we all know Stascock's doing fuck all except for basically stealing money. And no one's sitting down and making a proper plan to help help females in sport. And it's a joke.
Because if you look at football, right, PSL clubs, not all of them, but the clubs, they got a shit load of money. There is money for days in those clubs. And it's very disappointing.
The German clubs, not the Cape Town clubs.
Yeah. It's very disappointing and discouraging when you see the players are driving their little Bentleys and they're just drinking Moe in the club and whatever. But you don't even have a woman's anything. There's nothing. There's nothing for the kids. There's nothing in your academy. Your academy is solely focused on boys. So for me, if I had to have a club and I was a media manager at a club, and I would make a noise about the fact that, you know what, we've invested in 100 goals. We did a little clinic with the goals, and this is how we are sustaining it, because I don't see that. I just see, we're chasing the league, we're chasing this. I don't see anything going back into communities where they're saying, you know what, we won the league, we won R1 million, and from that million, we took 200,000 and we pumped it into the community of whatever, because there's a girls' academy and we will be funding this academy for the next year. We don't see that. No, we see player bonuses, Mauritius holidays, popping bottles, Actually, it's very, very disappointing to see that.
Our community football clubs are doing more for women's football than what our professional clubs and what our national association is doing. You all live in the northern suburbs, and we all got friends that are from different clubs. I mean, I'm at Belleville, but I know Durbanville, people at plenty at Durbanville. I know people at Edgemead. I know people at Vasco and stuff. But if I look at some of these clubs and I go, you look at like Holy Cross and you look at Belleville with the ladies' teams, I mean, the ladies' teams have been a hit since they've come into the club, an absolute hit. You look at some of the other clubs and you go further. I know clubs have gone blank, but look around, like there's so many clubs with ladies' teams at this point.
Let's not forget our Liverpool friend.
I was just going to.
He's at Tramway. Sorry, yeah, he's at Tramway with the girls and that there. And this, I mean, I know someone I used to work with back in the Amisco days. Taz has got like a little football. I think it's an academy that he's got, or trying to get girls to go play overseas. The Remarkables. They're trying to get bold player profiles for girls to send to universities. You know, little things like these are people that on ground level doing more than what associations and pro clubs are actually doing. And it's actually it's quite discouraging and quite disgusting that this is where we are in sport as a country at this point in time.
Well, this is also a place where they do more to ban cigarettes and protect women and children. So I just feel that priorities everywhere needs to change. If we want to see women's sport excel at any World Cup, at any competition, we've got Olympic Games next year. Our girls don't only play netball; they don't only play hockey. Caster Semenya is not the only athlete on track. There are so many that
Penny Haynes wasn't the only swimmer we had.
Exactly. Now, we've got Tatiana, we've got Rikenet Steenkamp on hurdles, we've got Giselle Magerman on sprint. There are so many women doing the thing, but we don't talk about them until they win gold, until they get signed by Nike, until we never ever celebrate them here, and then we want to claim them. As soon as they make it big, now we want to be like, oh yeah, you know what? She was here, she did this, she was my neighbor, No, we need to start celebrating our women and our boys, to be honest. Our boys too. We need to celebrate our youth. And I know people always say, Varsity Sports like to claim athletes and stuff. But I'm sorry, we knew Wade van Niekerk before the country knew about Wade van Niekerk, because Wade van Niekerk was running in his Koffsie's colors. And then we could see this homie's got a lot of potential. There's something special about him.
But I see guys can claim these things, because if it wasn't for your platform, there wouldn't be. There's a very good possibility that they might have been lost to the sport. They might have, even though Wade was great at varsity. But who says if it wasn't for a varsity platform that he would have gone on to really dominate the world? Yes. Not saying talent-wise he probably wouldn't have done it, but I'm saying the interest might have got lost, and he might have done something else. I mean, that's the thing. Like, I believe, Varsity Sports can claim these things, because your platform has helped them, put them on a bit of a pedestal, which has helped them in their professional careers in a way. And I don't see anyone else creating these opportunities and things. Then at the end of the day, you need to, if a player hasn't gone through Varsity Sport and made it famous, he has every right to be a braggat, because he made it happen. No one else helped him then. He made it happen. So,
because now you get also use their social media, because now they start learning about social media. So yes, you've had your little account when you were like a kid in school, but now you reach varsity level. You can still delete your account and start fresh, and not have old tweets bite you as you make it bigger, which is, if you had to become professional straight off the bat, you don't have that window of opportunity to delete old things, because we are not the same people we were in 2012. I mean, we've all said problematic things on social media back in the day, because we didn't know better. now we know better, but those are the things that's going to come bite you in the ass, like in your professional life. So you can already start your whole brand on social media. You are this type of person, and this is the life you live, etc., etc., and that will carry on as you progress in your career. So everybody loves you. You are a role model. They don't know that you were Dick Gesype at Dockside in 2002 because there's no evidence.
But you know what? See, I also think that's the problem, and not just society as a whole, but in sport. But are we really against knowing that he was a drongat at Dockside back in 2012? That brings that little bit of humility, that nature aspect to it. We were all drongat and falling probably around at that point in time in 2012. You know what I mean? Like,
even you forget we like to point fingers.
No, this cancel culture thing is the problem. And if you allow it to happen, this is the problem. People allow this cancel culture shit to happen. That's the difference.
Yeah.
The quicker we put a stigma to it that this cancel culture is a lot of shit, the quicker we kill it. If we keep jumping back to this cancel culture the whole time and allowing it to go forward, it's just going to get worse and worse. And for me, I love the fact of seeing a rugby player having, like back in 2010, having a par beer with his friends, looking like an idiot or whatever, and that's like, I go back and be like, look how much he's changed. He's this respectable bloke now.
Look how he's grown.
He's one of us. Different story. If he did something, as in like, if he's done something really controversial and something that's like, and stuff like that, fair enough. Call him out. All those things. It's simple. Like having a good time and having a bit of a party and stuff, that you were young and you're a different guy now. Why hold it against the poor bloke? I mean, he's definitely changed. He's grown older. His career's in a different path. He probably knows a hell of a lot better that he should not be doing that again.
Because for me, I mean, I've never. There were many times that I was like, maybe I should delete my Twitter account just in case, something happens and then people go far back into my life. But then I'm like, you know what? There were times that I was very open about my mental health on Twitter. There were times that I was very open about tweeting lyrics. Every time that I was just tweeting lyrics. There were times that I was fighting on Twitter with football fans. That is a part of my life that I don't want to erase. There were things that I've done that I'm like, bit cringy, but it is part of who I am and who I am today. All of that, everything that I've done in my life up till now is made me the person I am today. And I don't see why
special guest.
Old me. Oh, hey friend. I don't see why 36-year-old me needs to be punished for what 26-year-old me did. Because 26-year-old me was in a very different time of her life. I mean, even January 2020 me and June 2020 me are two different people.
I think that's most people. I
was so full of life.
What really irks me is the fact, obviously, like this cancel culture of, like you're saying, shit that happened years ago. And I know it's a big thing for comedians at the moment as well, where comedy from 20 years ago is different from comedy now. You were able to say things back then that you cannot say now. And to me, you can't now go and reverse it and go back 20 years and say, oh, but you should never have said that. Because you fucking watched that 20 years ago and you didn't speak up 20 years ago. Now you want to go ruin lives and ruin their careers for shit that they aren't anymore. They don't say those things. They don't hold those views anymore.
They know the game's changed.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, Eminem. I rap to every single Eminem lyric when he dropped the Marshall Mathers LP. That was the soundtrack to my matric year. Every single song, as you know, and I mean, it's very problematic. If I listen to it today, I can't pump it out loud. No way. No, that is the stuff that stays in your earphones. You don't even play it to your son. No, we don't listen to that.
Try listening to a DMX album these days. Just go and listen to an album these days. You can't
I
play
know
that shit in your car anymore. You
Snoop
know
Dogg,
you know
Dr.
exactly
Dre.
which album I'm talking about from DMX. You can't play that in your car loud anymore.
No, 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 no. And no, never. And I mean, we grew up on hip hop in the 90s. And in the 90s, we were very much shaped by the American hip hop culture. Everything about my 90s as American hip hop. I had posters, I had the clothing, listened to the music, the whole culture of hip hop. Um, that was my entire school career, right up until like deep into my varsity years. So yes, there were things that I did and said. I had the accent locked, like everything. I acted like I was from the Bronx. I mean, that was the phase I was going through. And now, if social media had to exist back in the day, and there's a video of me rapping in my little bandana that I put around my head and my Vatos Locos outfit. Like that was me. That was me. That was the standard outfit. Little check shirt. And if any of those were recorded and circulated and fell in front of the wrong eyes, I would be cancelled because I really acted like I was Aaliyah. And I had the little thing. So, and
I think that's the scary thing of sports stars now is that they live in this. It's almost too scary to be yourself in a way because you don't know how you're going to be portrayed out there.
yes,
And I think if there's one thing if I get out of this podcast today and this chat, especially with us, is how important it is to get these young players, give them the right guidance, not just we don't want to scare them into like, don't be yourself. We actually should be encourage them, be yourself a little bit, but give them the guidelines that, this is maybe pushing the boundary too much. Don't be that guy on social media with the bottles and the cars and that. We're not saying don't do it, but, give a little bit of insight, but not too much of your life, but also bring yourself across, bring your personality across. And I think there's a lot of pro footballers out there that do social media brilliantly. It's a lot of bands. They like to make cut of themselves, they make cut of others. They, do the whole, it's just a little bit.
Rio Ferdinand.
Yeah,
One of my
Ria's a
favorites.
great one. He's brilliant. Patrice Evra brings a different side of social media to it. That is Patrice Evra. Like, that is him.
Marcus Rashford getting Katie Hopkins off Twitter forever.
Like those little things. Like, what's it? There was one or two Liverpool players last night. I was watching it, just going through their tweets or whatever, and it was so good, like to see themselves, a little bit of themselves out there instead of. I think like a lot of players rather just do this whole marketing thing. You go onto their timeline, it's just marketing, trying to sell shirts, shoes, blah blah blah. It's fucking boring. We've seen this shit before. Every Tom, Dick, and Harry does it. Like, be yourself a little.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've been following this Bubba Wallace. Was it Bubba Wallace on for NASCAR and stuff like that? He's the only African American NASCAR driver on the circuit at this point in time. And yes, his Lives Matter thing is a big thing on his timeline at the moment. But just how you get to know him as a player, as a driver, like getting to know him is such a great thing. He's standing for something, but you get to know him as a person, which is, I think, more players we need. We need that for more players these days, and I think we should be encouraging players to be a bit more and not being worried about being labeled something.
I think the biggest problem with that, Keegan, is the fact that once we allow, or when players do become themselves, they make one mistake and we're like, fuck you forever.
No, that's just a society problem.
So
we have in society in general.
Yeah, you can't blame them almost for not being themselves because one judgment error. But
there's a saying that I heard for the first time when I was in Standard 9, grade 11 to the youngsters. And the guy said, when I do good, nobody knows. When I do bad, nobody forgets. This guy who actually wrote this in my book, Shane, he took his own life a few years after that. And what I find, and time for serious talk, is the mental health of our players. I look at how our professional players are vilified on social media. People have become so nasty. They've become blatantly racist, blatantly sexist, blatantly everything, because they're hiding behind a little account. And it's easy. I mean, your account gets suspended. Okay, I can get another account. That's fine, because you have all these keyboard warriors and the cancel culturists that is just attacking. That's all they ever do is attack, attack, attack. And I always wonder, Shayman, how is a Patrice Evra handling this? How is a Marcus Rashford handling this? How are they handling the constant negative? Oh, you cuck, you cuck, you cuck. I remember when
I think a
Damien
lot of them
Dillon,
just don't read comments anymore. Like if you listen to like the Rogans of the world and the other big podcasters, they'll first thing they'll say is the worst. We just don't read comments anymore. So you can slander and make a big hoo-ha and stuff like that. I think when you get to that point, you literally need to have that switch on mentality that you have for your sport. You put something out there and you don't even worry about what's in that reply or in that comment section.
The problem is, Keegan, even though that's a good way to handle it, it shouldn't be that way. You should be able to go to Twitter and reply to a fan that fucking says, you played well on Saturday. But now they can't.
100%.
A bunch of clowns out there that just throws abuse at them.
No, 100%. It shouldn't be that way.
Because I like Damien Dillon, remember post 2015, like he had a very tough time after the 2015 World Cup. He was very mediocre. He went to Japan injured and he became super cuck. Like there was just like he just went down this road of just and you tend to wonder, where's the guy that we got to know in the Vodacom Curry Cup or whatever, Vodacom Rugby Cup, whatever. Where's that guy? And I remember that he had a lot of like a potential coming through university and going into the academy. That there was so much potential, and it just went down. And I sent him a message, and I just said, you know what? I know there's a lot of negativity, but you'll get through it. Just continuously believe in yourself. And he actually read it, which was encouraging. But all he said was thank you. Then you get to the 2019 Rugby World Cup, and he was the best player on the field. And now everybody wants to be like, yeah, he's a great player. I've always supported him. Cuck, man. You were the only that was giving him shit. And you can't say that, our parents also, give this, it's tough love and whatever. No, we have to be so careful of the words that come out of our mouths and the stuff that we put out into social media, into that space. It's the same thing with the Thursday
I think it's fair. It comes down to, like, we're not saying you cannot criticize a player for how he's playing today. We're not. People must get that straight as well. I think people criticizing what a player's done on the field today. As a fan, you have every right to criticize, and especially if you've paid money to go and watch that player do something. But being, a personal attack on a player is something I think we're talking about, and that is a problem. That's the big problem we have, and I think you highlighted that. Like the personal attacks on him is probably what pushed it over the edge way too much. Where yes, at that point in time, you could critique his game. His game was shit.
You can say, you know what, his mind wasn't there, whatever. But now you're like, maybe his mind wasn't there because every time he logs onto social media, he must hear what a cuck person he is. He must hear this. He must hear that. You for example, you eat too much KFC. You too fat. You do this. Every time there's an attack on character, nobody is saying, you know what, you need to just maybe say something positive. Have a great day. Even if you don't want to, you don't have anything nice to say, our parents always said, as jy nie iets het mooi om te sê nie, don't say it, So if you don't have something nice to say to someone, then maybe shut up. Maybe do that. Maybe you critique, and you can critique as much as you want, and you can say, you know what, Keegan's game was on Saturday. Coach should bench him. Whatever, fine.
Fair enough.
But
That's fair.
not protecting someone's character. That is where I have a problem, because you don't know what that person is going through. Because yes, they are professional players, but they're also human. So they also have losses. They also suffer with relationships. They also have, they might have the socioeconomic issues that we have, having normal 9-to-5 jobs. But there are other stuff, and everybody has.
With money comes extra added pressure. When there's more, there's different pressures.
So, you never know that maybe someone's grandfather was given 6 days to live or whatever. Now you have to deal with that, and you have to deal with the game, and maybe you have an issue with a coach or what, so there's so many other things. And people just don't realize how intense it can be. And when you say, yeah, but he must wanted to be famous. No, you made him famous.
He just wanted to be a sports star or a sports player.
And if you watch The Last Dance with Michael Jordan, he was also saying he's like, I'm not a role model, because
he's never wanted to be a role model.
There's so much. He is a role model to his sons. That is his job. I need to be a role model to my sons. Now I need to be a role model to the whole world. That is pressure, because now that means he can't make a mistake. He needs to be perfect. And immediately, as soon as you start putting someone on this perfect pedestal where they cannot make mistakes, that is when you are going to disappoint yourself, when that person eventually makes a mistake, no matter how big or small it is. So I don't know, did you have any role models growing up?
I can't say one person.
I never had a role model.
No, I had sports players that I enjoyed watching, and that I would like. If I go play football, I would try to emulate. But there was no one that I would say I would base my life decisions on.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I never had a role model. It was like I would take a little bit from each person that I come across. I would say, okay, fine.
If I look at role models, I would say, I never really had a sports star as a role model, but you would look at first of all, look at how you brought up, how's your parents react. So I'd be cool, that is the way I should react. People can I'd be that is the way I should be acting. Okay. And then you sort of almost found players and stars that aligned to that way that you thought that way of how life should be. And that's how I found myself. So I'd be I like him because he does this, or I like him because he does that. But it wasn't really one person I can say that I was shit, this was the be all and end all.
Because even Mandela made mistakes in his life, and he was buried a saint, So I look at my own father, who I absolutely loved and looked up to, but he made mistakes. But I accepted his mistakes because he's my dad. So I accepted those mistakes, But if I put a sports star on a pedestal and this person does something completely op base, he went to drink and drive or whatever, and now you're like, oh, but I looked up to you. I never wanted to be a role model in the first place. I wanted to play sports, and you made me famous. So this is why I have a problem. I have a big problem with how people attack players on social media.
Yeah, I agree. Totally agree.
I think on that philosophical note, I think let's wrap this up. We've been going for an hour and a half. Can you believe it?
Damn.
We can talk forever though.
Yeah, we'll definitely catch you again, Reese. We'll do another follow-up soon. Have a good weekend, and
have a good weekend.
Cheers, guys.
You too.
Cheers.
Thank you, guys. Bye.
Bye.
Sweet.